work without commercial breaks to become an RT priest in a confessional. I reached the confessional with 5 seconds to spare, slid back the partition, suddenly realized my arm was still stained with cancer. The second I changed arms, it must have greatly thrown the director, and the stink in the cancer of the confessional grew by the minute. Even after the confessional, there was no time for the scrub I needed. I had to race back to the studio, tear off my suitcase, and I rocketed through the audience in order to make a change into a very famous actor. This time I was locked in the trunk with my smell. Half an hour of high-pressure insanity had gone by before I was able to stop and think and gauge reactions to the hideous occurrences during the opening monologue. Lorne Michaels, who was on the floor throughout the taping, was the first to try and convince me that the opening had been hilarious. I realised that nobody knew the awful embarrassment I'd been through. After all, you can't smell on TV. Anyway, I went to Lorne's office to see the tape. It did look monstrously funny. Bill Murray thought it the best show this year. Everyone very happy. Okay, The Life of Brian, this was the movie that we talked about in 1976, probably in New York. Actually, it was made in 1978, and here's just one or two things from the diaries of that period. So where are we? We were in Tunisia, a place called Monastir. The location by 8 o'clock provides off-camera lines of the crowd at Mandy's house, seeing where Graham appears. Which is located in a busy corner of the room that dressed to give the feeling of Jerusalem 10 o'clock of 1833. Graham gives us a few full frontals early on. He does pose rather well, probably an unconscious result of many years of absorption in gay mags. I was asking our patient, hard-working Arab assistant director, who has the unenviable task of explaining Terry Jones' instructions to the Arab extras, how the locals were assembled. Apparently some are students, others just villagers, recruited after a tour of the surrounding areas, in which the assistant director, as he told me, explained Python to them. Rather than for a war. Terry Jones' method of teaching an Arab crowd to speak English is quite a phenomenon. He was pressed for time, admittedly, but the Jones technique goes something like this. Let's try it then. We're all individuals. Good-natured, completely baffled Arabs mimic Terry as best they can. Terry, good, you've nearly got it. Once more, we're all individuals. Arab noise. Terry, very good. Now let's try. Yes, we must decide everything for ourselves. Ever optimistic. Now we have, oh yes, there we are. September the 28th, Monastir. Boring prophet morning for me. Quite exhilarating. I have to ad-lib most of the dull, droning speech. I'm through by 3 and feeling oppressed by the layers of dirt, mainly full of earth, and less wholesome aerosol spray, to tend all my characters. I soak some of it off in the sea. Tonight at Rushes, for 1.5 hours worth, my chief worry is the ex-leper, dancing, prancing, gum-chewing character. Seems to go down well enough. He looks like a cross between Tarzan and Geronimo. Some of this detracts from the impact of the scene. As Terry J says, he's the only character so far who looks out of period. A reshoot of this, the end of the scene, is scheduled for tomorrow. Dinner at the Sidi Mansour Hotel with the British ambassador of his wife. A special menu, fresh flowers, champagne, lines of various shaped glasses adorn the table. No excellent music, fortunately. Sit next to Mrs. Ambassador. A plummy voice, not unattractive lady, a hand taller than her. She speaks with lazy confidence. I marvel at how British she is. She manages to sound like a bishop's wife on a 4-day visit to Tunisia rather than someone who's been here a year. She's not unkind, the very nature of her language and way of expressing herself produces some treasured lines. You know, our gardeners every night, when they go home, I wait with bated breath for the revelation, always take a little bunch of weeds with them. Suppose the Tunisian habit of not wasting anything. But on not spoiling the local people. For example, not giving them the best Portland Mason tea, which they probably wouldn't like anyway. Okay, there we go. Rushing on. Life of Brian Problem. Which sort of menu? Oh no, this is just Eric Hyde something. He was very witty at it. After location in Zeus, clouds hamper progress today. On the slopes outside the impressive city walls, a huge nude statue of me as Palin is hauled towards the city on an oxen-drawn cart. Almost every hour on the hour, one of the donkeys has sexual intercourse, which entertains unit extras and citizens of Zeus marvelous. At one point, I found myself standing beside the lady donkey with Eric. The time to which she's been banged today. Shooting the troops? Two very last ones here. As many of you will know, and if you read the diary, you'll find out a lot more about it. George Harrison was the saviour of ours on The Life of Brian. The movie was in production. We spent some money on building sets in Tunisia, and suddenly the British company EMI, the head of EMI, read the script, so we can't possibly do this. Abandoned. And suddenly we found that the money had been withdrawn, and yet we had carpenters down in Tunisia and all that. What we're going to do? And Eric managed to talk George Harrison to support it. It wasn't very difficult. George loved Python, and he mortgaged his house to many houses. In order to get the film made. And this is 1979, October the 6th, and we're just hearing that The Life of Brian has been very successful in America as it was in London. Drop in on George at Friar Park, where he lives. He's about to have his breakfast, onions, eggs, and Pepper's Green. I apologise for arriving too early. George, halfway into the new beard, assures me it's been up a while and out planting his fritillaries. Takes the garden very seriously, has a bulb catalogue, which he refers to now and then, in between telling me of the $200 million lawsuit people are bringing against the management of Beatlemania, live show in the US using their lookalikes. He hasn't heard that Brian is #1, but he's greatly chuffed at the news. He shakes my hand. Now you can all have one of these, says George, nodding round the Friar Park. Men's house. The trouble is, I'm really quite happy where I am. Johnson's paid the flowers for quite one. You'll have a mansion and like it. 1979. This is the very end. This is the penultimate entry in the diary. A cold, dry. This is Sunday, December 30th. A cold, dry day, like the fire in the morning, stood beside it with my mother reading a Sunday paper. Decade spotters seem to be rather disappointed with the 1970s, a decade of selfishness, narcissism, introversion, etc., etc. I suppose for me it's been a decade of general upward progress, status, work, earnings, freedom and enjoyment of life. Personally, I'm well pleased. 1980s will be interesting. Python has established itself. We're now in an almost unassailable position of respect and comfortable living. And we now have to face up to the prospect of what the hell we do with respect, freedom and comfort. Not always the bedfellows of creativity. In a sense, I feel my big creative push has been and gone. Yet I'm writing as fluently as ever, taking on as much work as in those city days between 68 and 75 when we did everything. Will the next direction be into more personal, solitary writing, using Python as a base? Will Python wither and die of natural causes? I'll be 50 in 10 years' time. Mike Milligan's well past 50 and still being very silly. The extraordinary presence settled in Toulouse beside the fire lasts only an hour. I'm walking up to a party at Jacqueline's Cooper's, full of Hampstead folk. Meet portly Iron Aitken, Guardian political correspondent, who's lost his eye. I think the cleaners must have put it somewhere. He has a host of wonderful false eye stories, including the time when he was bathing off Guadeloupe, covering a summit meet in Callahan, Giscard and Carter. His eye fell out whilst diving. 2 or 3 days later, an American walks into the press room and shouts, "Hey, anyone here lost an eye?" Well, it wasn't like that with Python. You have to repeat the question. Oh, I'm sorry, yes, I knew it. Do you